Welcome, everyone, to episode 30 of Books and Bourbon. David, how are you doing?
Good. I'm just trying to calculate 30 weeks. How many months is that?
We get worse at math each time we just talk about this. So here, Caleb, let's bring Caleb in here as well.
What's up,
Caleb.
Hey.
Hey, sorry I'm late. I tried to fit too much into a day, and look what happens.
Oh, we're here. We just went live, so we're all good.
Beautiful.
Perfect. I was just trying to calculate episode 30. So that's like 30 weeks. We had a few weeks where we skipped an episode. And so I just did the math. That's 7.5 months. It's a long time.
Not bad.
It is
30 weeks is nearly 60% of a year.
All right, Caleb. David's got a surprise to tell you about what he'll be having today, possibly, for the episode.
Ooh, not coffee, huh?
It's not room temperature coffee today.
All right.
Should we share what we're drinking, or should we just catch up, or what should we do right now?
Let's share what we're drinking. So our guest has a hard stop of an hour, so I do want to be respectful of his time.
Yeah. Well, should we bring him in before we share? Because I think he's grabbing a drink too.
He's grabbing something too. I don't see him at his desk right now, so let's wait a second, and then we'll bring him in. What are your guys' plans for Christmas right now? We can start there. Caleb, what are you doing for Christmas?
I am hanging out with my son, and then my girlfriend's got 4 girls of her own, so we're gonna have a full house, seven people, and I think that means if I did my math right, at a present a minute, we're gonna be opening presents till like 4 p.m. So
wow,
nice.
It's gonna be great. We're just some family time and just enjoying that together. How about you guys?
Matthew?
What are you doing, David?
I'm just laying low here in Denver, hanging out with family. We usually watch the movie Paddington for Christmas, and so it's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, it looks like a kids movie. It is a kids movie, but it's really good. Yeah,
nice. I'm out in Utah for Christmas. I'm actually here right now at my parents' house out in Utah. So we have the whole family here. All my siblings live out here and stuff like that. So we got all the cousins together. Just a tip for you guys. My dad was sharing with me earlier today. He said that if you get a box, an empty box, wrap it in wrapping paper, make it look just like a present, stick it under the tree with all the other presents. And then if your kids start misbehaving, you just grab that box and throw it into the fire and say that'll happen to the other ones too. The other ones too. So you just have a few decoys mixed in there. You know where they are. The kids don't know where they are, and that's the important part. So you can keep things in line for Christmas, I guess.
That's so funny.
I like that a lot.
All right, let's bring in our guests so we can get started here. Welcome, Reezy.
Welcome. Hey guys, what's up? Sorry I'm late to the party. I'm somehow late to the first person who was late.
Hey, I was late. You're just later, so
yeah, someone's got to do the hard work.
Man, your setup looks so good.
I wish my background was blurry. Just this Canon M50 doesn't have the aperture for it, or the lens, I guess. But it is what it is.
It is what it is. Well, we're delighted to have you. We've not had you on anything, I feel like, in a long time. So welcome.
I haven't done a live stream on YouTube for over a year and a half.
Wow. Well, thank you for breaking the streak with us.
Yeah. Well, I needed to break it, and I'm feeling great lately. That's a long story, but what better team to do it with? You know what I mean?
Beautiful. Well, we're excited to have you. We're going to go around the horn here, and then we do have some exciting news. I'm sure the whole book selling community knows, but we'll kind of share that. This will probably be our last hurrah. This will be episode 30. And we're gonna put the podcast on a long pause, and it may be done permanently, or maybe we'll rebrand it and do it again. But you're it, so no pressure. But this is gonna be a good last interview.
Awesome. Give me 2 seconds here. I'm sorry.
I feel like it's we shouldn't look at this as the end. We should just look at this like the end of season 1, and like we'll see if it gets renewed or if there's a spin-off or whatever, but it's not the end. It's just the end of the season.
So are you talking like reality house, Book Brother? We're gonna just throw us all in one.
Hey, Netflix, if you're watching,
actually, That would be pretty cool. I'd be down for that.
I don't think my wife would be too down for it. I'm just trying to get the chat expanded here so I could focus on the chat and not all of our beautiful faces.
Beautiful. Romer says we need to be more clickbaity.
Yeah.
What?
Gave us a title idea. I should have done this. Last YouTube video ever. Just put that up on.
We won't ever be heard from again. No, we're not. I mean, we're winding things down, but it's allows us to step back and be more strategic. So we'll get into that.
I was actually talking to Romer recently about this type of stuff, and like, yes, that stuff is important, somewhat important, but you know, you got to get your CTR up, get people to click on it and watch it. But if you do your job as a creator and constantly or consistently, I mean, deliver good content that's valuable to people, they don't look at your thumbnails or titles. They don't give a shit. Do you think people who watch, they watch every Mr. Beast video? They don't care what the title or the thumbnail is. He puts out a video, they watch it. You know what I mean? Or anybody who, is really serious about content creation and is not just chasing the dragon.
The trick is to get noticed first. The trick is to get eyeballs. It's that startup phase, and then scaling kind of happens naturally depending on how you do it. One thing I've really appreciated about you, Reezy, and Romer and Rakin is you all understand how to do the if you want to call it clickbaity, sure. You know how to get attention. You know how to have a big personality. But when you meet any of the three of you in real life, you're incredibly down to earth. Like the persona that you have on YouTube doesn't necessarily mirror what we see in real life. And I think that's a testament to who each of you are.
Right. Yeah. I mean, also too, nobody really has time to actually watch anything. So you got people that are mad at you for stuff and all they did was read the title.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Or look at the thumbnail, or you know what I mean? It's the same thing people do with news articles. They want to argue about it for an hour and a half, but they didn't take 15 minutes to read it.
Yep.
Cheers, by the way, guys.
Well, cheers. Let's go around. Let's talk about what we're drinking. What do you got there, Reezy?
I actually picked up a bottle of bourbon just because all I had was rye whiskey. I had Whistle Pig, and so I just got a Boulay bourbon, which is just whatever. And I just put a sugar cube in it and a Luxardo cherry and some ice. So it's like a ghetto old fashioned kind of.
It sounds like all it's missing is the bitters, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I knew I forgot something. Either way, too late now.
Love it. Well, I just went classic. I went back to Buffalo Trace. It's about as good as it gets. It's probably the best budget bottle out there. It has all of the famous distilleries under it, Pappy to Weller to Stag, you name it. So Buffalo Trace is what I got today.
Awesome.
Nice. Yeah, I'm in Utah, so I don't have bourbon with me, but I do have Blue Moon as a nod to our Denver days and the start of Scout IQ. So I'll have Blue Moon here.
Do the questions come up on StreamYard so that you guys can put them on the screen?
Yeah.
How does that work?
We can put anything on the screen.
Cool.
I'll throw some of these up here.
It's really hard for me to read the chat without my glasses on, but if I put my glasses on, then I got to deal with reflections and I didn't have time to light this.
Yeah, we'll put a couple up, Reezy, from time to time, and then we'll kind of do a rapid fire at the end.
It's not that bad. I'll rock it. Whatever. Haters.
Cool. Real quick, I'll share what I'm drinking real quick. So I feel like I have to preface this with a little bit of a story. So I don't exactly remember when it was. I think it was back in January of 2021, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe even November of 2020, when you guys came out, and that's when you guys were gracious enough to bring me on as the fourth or fifth wheel at that point. And so that night we all celebrated and we shared some Stag Junior at Death & Co., a really nice cocktail bar down here in Denver. And once it was all official, all the paperwork and everything was done, Caleb sent me this beautiful bottle of Stag Junior.
And because you're a responsible human, you still have that much left.
Well, so Caleb, he wrote a really nice note for me. He said, hey, this bottle will forever remind me of when you joined the team. Wow. I thought it was special. I thought Caleb was sending me his last bottle, but he's obviously well stocked.
I'm hoarding it.
You know he's going to go on a sabbatical, right?
I got to stay warm somehow.
But Caleb told me, hey, you know what? I want you to hold on to this bottle and then let's pop it open when there's something to celebrate. And up until now, I kept it sealed. And I thought, what better moment than right now to celebrate, on the final, the last episode of season 1 of Books and Bourbon. And I'll try my best not to finish this before you guys all come out next month so we can share some together. But yeah, this is I'm literally breaking the seal right now.
Yes.
All right.
The best part of bourbon is the memories and just remembering that moment in time. So,
does bourbon ever go bad, Caleb, in a bottle?
as long as you keep it out of direct sunlight, it should be just fine. And extreme temperature is bad. Other than that, I've heard people say once a year you want to take it, flip it upside down just to wet the cork. I don't know if that's true.
You got a Missy Elliott, flip it and reverse it.
That's it. So well, on that note, we'll say a cheers.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Well, Dave, I don't want to ruin the surprise, but I did find a really nice bottle that I'll bring out to our team celebration in January.
I'm excited. Wow, this is really good.
Mark Corbett in the chat says, "Dang it, you're gonna have to rebrand. It's gonna be Scotch and Books now."
I know.
I'll be down. That's a whole new world. I'm afraid to get into it. I do want to quick shout out our sponsor. The Detroit Lions sponsored me. They feel bad because no one's buying their merch. And so they actually, a fellow bookseller sent me this, a buddy from Detroit. So thank you for that. I've had it for about a year and a half, but recently I think the Lions have won 6 out of 7. So they are back to 500. They're don't spoil the surprise. They might be close to the playoffs. We'll see. So
also
excited.
Sponsored by Flippin' Supply Co., your reseller's favorite skate shop.
Hey, Reezy, bring a couple extra hats when you come out here.
All right, gotcha.
I've got a pretty big head though, so make sure it's adjustable.
It's a standard Yapung snapback. It should be able to fit that big brain of yours.
Reezy, we got you too. We'll get you some swag.
Nice. Is that a trucker hat? Mesh side?
It is. It's
nice.
Matthew got these from Arizona. It's Branded Bills is the company. They're blowing up. It's pretty
yeah,
nice.
I love those for skating. You just get all the air in the back.
We got you.
Still absorb the sweat in the front.
Bring a good number of those out.
Nice.
I love it. Well, we should make the announcement. I missed the very beginning. I'm assuming Matthew and David didn't mention it yet, or did you?
No, we didn't. No, you literally hopped on right when we got on. We started a little later.
Perfect. Well, for those that didn't hear the news, Scout IQ was officially acquired. So everybody's asking how much. It's not really important how much. We just got tired of dealing with too many Karens. And so we actually just said, if you can handle the customers, then it's your company. So we passed it along. I'm kidding. For those that don't know me, this has been something that we've been looking at for about a year, trying to find the right partner to pick us up. And we were picked up actually on my birthday, December 1st. And then by the time all the due diligence and the final docs and everything else was signed, and then money changed hands, was actually this Monday. So the announcement went out Monday. 3 Colts picked us up. For those that are using Scout IQ, thank you. We wouldn't be where we were without each of you. It's been a hell of a journey. We've had a great time building the software, networking with you all, trying to solve problems in the book space, trying to get smarter with data. We invented eScore. It was the often copied metric. But we had a lot of fun building it. For those that watch the show as well or have seen us speak, we often talk about startup, scale up, and then step back. And so for each of us, this was really our chance to do that. We got it off the ground. We had a huge beta test. A couple hundred of you were part of that. That was amazing. And then we scaled this thing up. COVID really struggled. We lost a lot of our customers in COVID just because no one could go source. We weathered that storm. We didn't lay anybody off. We did all we could to kind of tighten our belts. And then unbeknownst to us, we talk about social media all the time, Reezy, but TikTok, we had some videos blow up, not even ours, just not even affiliates, just people were sharing the love of flipping books. And it brought a whole different audience to the table. And that helped really kind of continue our trajectory. So it's been a lot of fun. We launched in November of 2017. So we made it just over 5 years, which is a long time in software. Our team will be stepping back over the next couple months and then kind of handing things over to 3 Colts. In terms of the software, in terms of the pricing, they're saying nothing's going to change. you're just going to have access to another suite of products within the Three Colts family. So Tactical Arbitrage, many of you are familiar with that. They picked them up about a year ago, and they have a bunch of other tools as well. So kind of every entrepreneur's dream is at some point someone comes along and says, hey, we really like what you built. We'd love to buy it. It's hard to let your baby go. I was actually talking to my mom and she was asking, I was telling her the news and she was asking if I was sad. And I went right to my head. I'm like, no, I'm not sad. This is awesome. We're getting paid. We're getting recognized for what we did. It's a chance for us to step aside and figure out something new because I love new things and I love starting businesses. And then I kind of thought about it for a second, went from my head and let it kind of go down to my heart a bit and was like, yeah, it is kind of sad. In some ways, it's bittersweet. Dave, I'll try not to get too sappy since you don't apparently you don't like that. I'm not quite sure, but it is bittersweet. It's really fun to build it. We've met some amazing people. Our last Scout IQ Summit in Vegas, we had what do we have, about 50 people show up?
Yeah. 60.
It all kind of blends together. But
can I get in there real quick?
Yeah, please.
What's did they also acquire the Turn the Page brand?
No, so they picked up the Book Flipper brand, which is a little odd since that's me, but that's also a big funnel of leads into the system. So they're picking up the blog, they're picking up the YouTube channel. So this may be our last YouTube video.
So you could be Book Flipper, you just can't be the Book Flipper.
Can't be the. Nope, I'm not. There's a lot of people.
No. There's a difference between the and the.
Yes,
that's a whole nother letter.
Brilliant. Somebody did say I should be Caleb IQ, which that joke's funny for a little bit, and then people will forget, what Scout IQ, that I was part of it.
I just want to bring up something that you glossed over, which if people haven't been selling books for a long time, they don't realize how important your contribution was to the book selling community. And we didn't have eScore, like I've been selling books since the Scout Pal days when you had to use SMS messages, and even before that, selling stuff where I had to write it down and then go call, my brother, which we called a rabbit, when you had someone waiting at a computer to help you find stuff. And that's just how it was done. If you weren't, one of the old gray hair wizard dudes that knew everything about books, right? Like Steven Eisenstein probably is one of those wizards, right? Yeah. And he has tons of stories. But before that, then we got, PDAs. And the PDAs, they had sales rank, but, you would hear, don't buy it if it's over 1 million or whatever. Then you kind of realize that rank's not static. And, just because it was 1 million yesterday, you're not going to buy it tomorrow, after it sells once and it's 400,000 or whatever. So you start to realize it. And then I was like, you know what? We need average rank. So I started pushing for average rank. And eventually they rolled out average rank. And I was like, yes, average rank. But very quickly I realized this sucks because they're not accounting for textbook cycles. And so you still had to count the drops on Keepa. You still had to click through, 1, 2, count it, estimate how many drops. And so Caleb comes along and is like, I don't even know the story how you came up with it, but created eScore, which is essentially a measurement of how many drops happened over the last 6 months.
Can I show you?
Yeah, actually, let me just finish the thought process.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Anyways, the point was it was revolutionary because you could scan a book, and when you weren't 100% sure, you didn't have to spend an extra 10 seconds clicking through. You could just look at the eScore, and that would back you up, because usually you're on the fence, and you only need 1 or 2 pieces of data to push you either way. And, in book business, most books aren't worth anything, so you can't spend an extra second looking at a book. And that literally changed my life because, I would go out to Goodwills and I would win an auction of who knows how many books, and it might take me 6 hours to scan through them and leave the duds and take what I wanted, but all of a sudden we could do it in 2 hours. And so I really thank you for that, and I would like to hear the story about how you came up with that or what inspired eScore essentially.
Yeah, happy to jump in. Appreciate the kind words. Really, any business has to exist to solve a problem. You can try and do something the same as somebody else. Obviously, FBA Scan existed at the time. They rebranded to Scoutly. Some people think they did it to copy us, which is probably partly true, but also FBA's trademark. So I'm sure Amazon went to them and said, you can't.
It was a brilliant, slimy SEO maneuver by them. So that great. When you would look for Scout IQ, Scoutly would show up right underneath it.
Yep. So here is, I'll just show you real quick. This is from the Scout IQ keynote speech. We kind of took a page out of Apple's book. One of the things I was after, my brother's a database guy, and we had the exact same issue. Keepa didn't exist at the time, or maybe it did, but it wasn't something you could easily pull up. And
I don't think
research.
they had an API at that time.
They definitely didn't have an API. They may have existed, but these are Keepa charts. And for those that aren't familiar, you can check out Book Flipper and Keepa, and there's lots of training. The green line is the sales rank, and you can see that this particular book sold twice in the last 6-ish months. So what would happen in the field is you would go find a book that was sales rank was 2.3 million. The lowest use price was $10. And so you'd say, do you buy it or not? The question is, it depends. And book B, same exact sales rank, 2.3 million, lowest use price, $10. And the question is, which one of these should you buy? One or both or neither. And book 1 or book A here has an E-score of 2. It sold twice, but the sales rank currently is 2.3 million. Book B has a much better heart rate. It has an E-score of 10. And so if you're going to buy one of the two, you definitely want to buy book B. So E-score was just a simple measure of how often is it selling in the past. And so from there, we kind of figured out how likely is it to sell again. So it kind of helps you estimate.
Can we
risk.
go back real quick to the last slide?
Yeah.
Okay, so just to summarize the importance of this is that before, when we were essentially blind, you'd scan both of these books and they'd be the same, like at a cursory glance until you clicked in and looked at them. But that top book is just more of like a hope and a dream. It's like living on a prayer. And if that ever becomes 5% or 10% of your inventory, you're in danger. Like those are not what you want. Like a book that sells that slow, I want it to sell for at least like $30, $40, $50. Like it's just not worth it to spend that much time on books like that, and if you just go by the default scanner view, you don't know. So you got to be smarter than the software.
Yeah. So this, in a perfect world, we'd have full visibility and, like a fighter jet. Side note, this is not my crotch shot, so no comment, please. But the ideal world, we would have full visibility into everything around us. And at the time, with the current tools that were on the market, that we kind of had a very narrow windshield of what was there. And so all we were proposing was, can we open up that field of view a little bit? And it's cheesy, but that's what we were after. And so the E-score was essentially that. We had some fun with it, but basically it was the number of days with a sale in the past 180 days. If you plot out, again, the school of thought when I started was don't buy books with a sales rank over 1 million. So here's E-score on the bottom, here's sales rank. Well, books with an E-score of 0 have ranks, we took 100, I think, for each of these buckets. Their ranks are between 3 and 5 million. So yeah, you're probably not going to touch those books anyway. Where you get in trouble is this middle range where books that are selling once to twice a month, a lot of them drop down. And so at any given point, 20 to 30% of these books can have a sales rank under 1 million. Well, you're going to get fooled by the fact that it just sold versus the fact that it could be really high. And some of these books that sell often, they might have a rank of 1.5 million, but the reality is they're selling every week. So E-score makes you smarter. We charted out like a couple hundred of them. My brother's a statistician. We looked at E-score of 1 to 2. And a lot of these books down here, you'd buy them based on rank at certain percents of the time, but a lot of times you wouldn't. And the bottom line, noise is just a term of how fuzzy something is and how inexact. And so E-score clears up 27% of the noise from using rank alone. Or in better terms, E-score makes you 27% smarter. So that's really what we did. We put a nice design. Johnny, if you're watching this, thanks for taking a risk. You gave us a great rate on some of the initial design work. It's probably the best money I spent on Scout IQ in the early stages.
How did you arrive at the naming E-score? I know you have E-flip as well, but I'm just curious. Was it just like e-commerce, 90s, e-commerce biz?
Yeah.
So I just curious.
Scout IQ was going to be Scout Smart. And then I was like, a couple apps were starting to use the IQ terminology. Everything else at the time was Scan Power, FBA Scan. There's a couple scan things. So I said Scout would be different. It would help us stand out. And then we kind of settled on IQ. Never could quite get the domain. That's why it's .co. E-score, I think, was like an either estimated score or like an E-score, just like e-commerce. So it just kind of stuck. We used it as a placeholder, and then it just stayed. And so we just kept it.
Yeah, the having the word Scout instead of Scan, I think is great. And to me, it just makes way more sense because, I mean, I've probably told this story a bazillion times, but when I first started selling books, what happened first was I was just selling whatever I could on eBay and whatever when I would come across stuff. But I happened to once I started to do it more regularly, I would go to the same thrift stores again and again, you get my routes going, and then I would see people with carts of books. And I would ask them what they were doing, and they would, they would tight-lip me. I wouldn't get any information from them, which inspired me to, of course, dig up and put my heart and soul on the line to figure it all out. Like, a few of those people could have just spilled the beans, and I probably would have not cared and not done anything. But because they tight-lipped me, you know what I mean? I went into it. But it was like, I consider myself decently good at Google, at Boolean searches, and I'm searching, book scanning. What I want is not what comes up. What comes up is just endless information about how to digitize books. I'm looking at Hackaday posts about how to make a DIY book scanner so you can digitize it. Like, this is not what I want. There was no information, or if there was, I couldn't find it because it lost in the trenches of digitizing books.
Right.
Reezy, I actually have a very eerily similar story to that. So when I first started, it was actually even before I personally started. It was when my dad started. I was helping him out selling books online, and we would go to the Goodwill auction, similar to you, and you'd see these guys with a Palm Pilot and go scanning books, and we'd go up to them and it's like, hey, like, what are you guys doing? Like, what is that? And nothing. And so literally I devoted the next like 2-3 months of my life, like going to Best Buy, asking them, like, my thought was they were somehow like connecting their Palm Pilot to the internet through their cell phone. And so like I went to Best Buy, and I remember talking to the sales floor, rep there. And I was like, hey, do you guys have something where like your device can connect to the 3G signal on your phone? He's like, oh, you mean tethering? And I was like, yeah, tethering. He's like, no, that doesn't exist yet on phones.
Oh, you mean a flying car? Oh yeah, no, sorry.
That's not a thing.
Yeah.
Dude, it was crazy though, right? Because people were using PDAs, right? Which was, let's see, Dell Axum X5, yep. Dell Axum X5-1 was like a hot rod if you had that one. But they didn't have, I remember they didn't have Bluetooth, right? They had a really crappy wireless, but they didn't have Bluetooth. And so everyone used what I call the potato peeler scanners. It's the compact flash cards that you jam into the top, and
those
inevitably
cost a lot of money.
Yeah, they were like $300, and you inevitably put it in your back pocket to get some books and sit down and snap the thing off clean. And it's like a 40-pin, mini IDE hard drive connector. You're donezo. And I remember I got a CHS-7P, and then I got a compact flash Bluetooth card and put it in an X5, and I got it working. And it was like, It was complete wizardry. But even being tech savvy, it was pretty difficult. You had to use ActiveSync to load the software onto the PDA. It was so difficult that when you would see like grandmas and grandpas out there getting it, they didn't figure it out. It was because the software providers were selling fully installed, scanners, which meant their database. Yeah. When I realized that, I was like, their database is like how old? 3 months, 6 months? I'm competing against people that don't even know how to update their database. And so when I realized that, then I was like, dang it, now I got to go through their rejects. Because before I just, assumed they knew what they were doing. And now I'm like, they don't know. I got to go through their rejects now. Dang it.
It's funny because people are so adverse to change. When I first moved to Denver, we didn't have Scout IQ yet. We were just launching eFlip. So I was using FBA Scan. And I used to go to the Denver library sale downtown under those big white tents, David. You've probably been there and in the basement. And I'd be walking around with the smartphone, and people were looking at me with the PDAs going, what are you using? I'm like, I'm using the same software you're using. They had no idea it was on a smartphone yet. I'm like, I can look up stuff live. Like, they're like, you're just as fast as me. I'm like, yeah, it's just a Bluetooth scanner.
Yeah. Now, do you think that was just because they didn't check their email? Or is it because there's some other reason why FBA Scan didn't want to promote them to using it? They probably can't figure out how to use a phone. I firmly remember there was a good 6 months, if not a year, where I was using a phone and all of my competitors weren't using phones. And eventually everyone switched to phones. But I still to this day, I don't understand what took everyone so long.
I think people are resistant to change. It already works. And if you've got that investment in the Dell Axum and the scanner, it's weird for you to say, well, I'm going to throw that $600 investment away and switch to my phone.
Don't throw it away. Bring your cousin or your brother or your wife. Let them use that, and then get the. How many times your PDA crapped out on you, and the card corrupted, and there's nothing you can do unless you're like a super prepared genius and have a whole nother card backed up ready to go. But if your phone freaks out on you, you could just walk outside and download a new database.
You're making it sound way too logical.
Yeah, people
Like, take it from me.
That's not the way it works. So
Yeah.
while I have the Junkman being hilarious before he scored 7 versus, let me share this just a second. So this was like our original
forefathers.
this was our original like view, and this was going to be our we actually came in. We should have charged 19 a month. I think we ended up at 14 for live. Yeah, but anyway, so this is our original design, which looks, we've modernized it a bit, but it's very similar. This was FBA Scan's design at the time, and then Needle Scan, very similar. That's the Dell, Axum that we were talking about. Just the nature of competition is, Scoutly looks very, very similar to this now, and that's
right.
It is what it is. I'm not a big fan of the copycat tactics, but.
Yeah,
anyway.
well, I mean, what are you going to do? Are you going to put the cover image at the top or the bottom? You're not going to put it in the middle.
Exactly. So it's interesting. We had, debating if I want to share this. We had talked about,
You do.
I actually reached out to Scoutly the other day and just said, hey, almost like at the end of a game, everybody goes and shakes hands. And I just said, hey, I appreciate, I don't appreciate your copycat. I was very, very blunt and honest. I said, I don't appreciate the copycatting, but you guys freaking executed. Every time we rolled something out, you guys were very, very quick to implement copy, and hats off to that. And
did they reply?
They replied very favorably. They said, you guys, they said, we're the best. Essentially, we had to copy to stay alive. It was actually, there was a lot of respect both ways. I'd never reached out before. It was almost, we always were like, oh, those copycats, and in some ways they kept us going. And in some ways, we kept them going, and ultimately, customers benefited. Did you get to meet the fabled Tom ever?
I have. Is that just like an acronym for an AI they use?
I've not met. Maybe we'll meet for dinner or drinks at some point. That would be great. But so Tom, if you're watching, let's grab dinner. But
I would like to be invited as well.
That's one of the beauties of capitalism when it behaves properly. Is competition drives results. And
yeah,
so
can we talk about the dichotomy of you guys versus them?
Sure.
Because I believe it's quite interesting, and it illustrates different concepts of business competition practices.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Well, so for example, they basically copied everything you did, and they always try to lower the price. Pretty much always lower, I think. Yep. And so they were competing on price.
Well,
and so they basically have you by the balls. Like, look, we got the same thing for cheaper.
When we launched, they were $39 a month, $9.99. I think it was, call it $40 a month. We decided on purpose to be a premium. We said, if we can't be 10% better and command 10% more money, so that's why we picked $44, 10% more than 40. We said, then let's not bother. I didn't want to make a race to the bottom. I didn't want to undercut them. I didn't want to match. I wanted to be the premium tool. And during our beta, when we hinted at pricing, they actually did a couple things. They offered lifetime plans to take customers off the table. They offered 3 and 5 year plans to take customers off the table. And they dropped their price to $35 because we offered beta pricing of 20% off 44, which was $35. We did that for like the first 3 days for signups. And a lot of you jumped on it. It was great. They matched that price, but not only did they match it, they left the price there. They never raised it back up to $40. And so now we came in at a 20% premium. And that's a little bit harder to stomach. And I'm really glad we stuck to our guns, because every customer we were able to win over or create, we ended up creating a lot more customers than stealing theirs, I suspect. Every customer that we created and introduced to the game, we were now getting 20% more money out of them, which
and think about it. You're the owner of Scout IQ and you've never talked to Tom. And I know every single Scout IQ customer that needed help could have or did send you an email and talk directly with you, if not Matthew, later down the line. But an inexorbitant amount of time, direct connection. You know what I mean? And so like me, as I was always promoting Scout IQ, and you guys never paid me for exclusivity, which is, something I would charge a lot for. I just always did it out of respect. I'm just loyal to my own detriment or whatever. But I've always appreciated how you took care of people and community aspect, or like fly me out and put me up for 2 days in this thing. I'm like, yeah, you could talk if you want to, like you could pitch your thing, or you don't have to, whatever. We're just happy to have you, you know? And I always appreciated that, but just watching how you operate and seeing the value that you give to the community. Do you know what I mean? And like coming from the skateboard world, you can't be a successful skate shop if you aren't doing things in the community. Do you know what I mean? Like you need to put on skate contests and demos and get the pros to come through the shop, and you're part of the community. You can just show up and say, buy my shit. You know what I mean? Which is essentially what FBA Scan does. So like, I don't know, a lot of people might not realize how effective you could actually compete in a market, even being the more premium option with almost the same exact offering, just because you're human. You know, I would literally say, you guys should use Scout IQ because Caleb owns it and he takes care of me. And he's also a good dude. End of story.
Yeah. Well, two thoughts on that. One, we really appreciate you and Rakin and Romer and a lot of the influencers. I wish we could say we were really smart and tried to win you over. Maybe we were strategic. I think we just played the game the right way and we connected. I remember the first time we met in Denver and grabbed pizza, and everybody's like, oh, Reezy's so short, and Caleb, you're taller than I thought. And, you know, all those things that people don't realize when they see you online. And I just remember meeting, you know, you and eventually Rakin and all of that. And the fact that you decided to, you know, promote our product, even if we didn't have an affiliate program, was awesome. So we really appreciate that. We would not be in the spot that we are and getting the sales that we did without affiliates like you. And you're one of our top affiliates. So we really appreciate that. The other piece to that is something Matthew actually taught me. And I remember going, man, we can't charge that much more. No one's going to pay that much of a premium. People are going to know that Scoutly's there and we're here, and they're not going to pay that much more. We just can't do it. We have to lower the price. And Matthew's like, you remember what your analogy was, Matthew? Do you remember the software that you told me about?
Was it ClickFunnels?
Yep.
Yeah.
So ClickFunnels was out there. Russell Brunson, the guy's a marketing genius, and their software was like a couple hundred a month. It was crazy.
It was like 10x the price of what you get other software that's something very similar for. Yeah.
Now,
it's a lot.
Part of it was sort of a network marketing play. They had a huge affiliate funnels within it, but he built a great community, and people would pay stupid money for software that at the time wasn't that great, but they had the community. And so you really talked me into it and said, no, if we build this community the right way, and Matthew's a master of SEO and understanding the marketing side of things and community building, and David's incredibly relational. Who knows where we'd be if he had found us earlier in the process. But because, you know, Matthew, you talked me into keeping that. And if we didn't, if I had dropped the price to $40 or even matched Scoutly at 35, we'd be worth 10% to 20% less than we are now. So cheers to you.
Right.
And
Russell Brunson also, sorry to cut you off. I want to get the Russell Brunson relevant thing. Russell Brunson has a quote, and he says, people who pay attention. And so he has, you know, talked about, he's giving away stuff for free all the time to people, family members, friends, whatever, stuff that people like us would have to pay 10 grand to show up for, you know, or more. That's probably one of the lower ticket in-person things. And he's like, guess how many of those people took action? 0. Yeah. He's like, guess how many people take action, are successful, that spend 10, 25, 50 grand to show up to the in-person trainings? A lot, 80%, maybe more.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's interesting to think about the type of, you know, what happens to your demographic of customer when they pay versus, you know, just being someone who's looking for the best deal. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can get organic apples from the farmer's market, or you can get the cheapest bag of Granny Smith pesticide-ridden apples. They're both apples. You know, they both taste the same. But where did they come from?
Mm.
We're the organic apples in this illustration, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
Good clarifying question. Well, a big trend I see actually is a move toward local food. And so the idea of shipping in stuff from Chile out of season just so we can have asparagus in the winter is, you know, we're stripping Chile's ground of nutrients. It's really expensive for freight and petrol and gas to get it here. And it's like, why don't we eat stuff in season from a local farmer? And we're seeing a huge move. We go and get non-pasteurized milk with all the other crunchy people in our town. and it's $8 a freaking gallon from the Amish, and people are lined up to get it
The
because
Amish are the biggest hustlers ever. They don't pay income tax, you know.
well, it's cash based, or is it religion based that they don't pay, or
It's
they hide it?
religion. They have a
Okay.
religious exemption, but also
Wow.
they do a lot of bartering. They don't deal with too much cash. But
Yep.
I'm not an expert on the Amish culture, but I would like to make my own culture that doesn't pay taxes.
I joined that religion.
Invite me
That's what I'm
over when you
saying.
do that.
It already exists, guys. It's called Scientology.
Well, that too. Have you heard of the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster?
Sounds so cool. No,
It's made up just, I think, for tax reasons.
sign me up.
So, any rate, yeah, David and Matthew, you two have been a little quiet in this. It's been a fun history lesson going back down memory lane here. But what are you guys' thoughts as we wrap up season 1 of the podcast?
Well, I definitely like calling it season 1 versus the very last episode ever. It's a lot. It hits my ears better to hear that.
It's not as clickbaity. It's not as
It's not. It's true.
It's not as clickbaity. No, it does make you feel better about yourself. There's gonna be more episodes in the future potentially, though. But it's been crazy. Yeah, like Caleb said, I want to echo that. I'm super grateful to you, Reezy, for day one supporting Scout IQ and being at the events and talking about it on YouTube. And if you Googled Scout IQ in the early days, even now, you're going to see your face in so many YouTube videos that you, like said, we didn't pay you to make all those videos, and you just, super helpful to the community any chance you had. And so we're very grateful for you and all the effort you put in over the years. And
I appreciate it.
I love to see your YouTube channel. I know it's not exactly correlated with timing, but your YouTube channel blow up over the years. I remember looking at it. I think I messaged you when I saw it, but I looked at it like 2 years ago, and I looked at it, and I looked at it again, and your subscriber count, I just love that curve.
Yep.
On your YouTube, how your YouTube's blowing up, and just seeing that made me
been
so
super
happy
blessed.
to see that YouTube's blowing up. And I just love this. So thanks for all your support over the years.
Yeah, no, thank you for, the support as well. I guess I don't know how to really say it, but I appreciate it. And it's kind of been a learning lesson for me because, like, going forward, I'm now looking for, what is the next good scanning app that I can promote to my people, and what are they going to have to pay me for exclusivity, because it's not going to be cheap. In fact, I want equity. So if you're watching, you know what I mean? Let's talk.
I saw your comment that you're now a free agent.
Yes, definitely.
Can I chime in real quick?
Of course.
So, I actually, so I'm coming up on year 15 of selling books online. I actually, if you do the math in a weird way, so my dad actually started selling books on Amazon back in 2015. That's when he started. I think I was a sophomore in high school. I wasn't really serious about it. He was just doing it for himself. I learned the trade from him, and then 2 years later, when I graduated, I needed a way to make money, and he recommended selling books online. So that's when I started my thing. And for about, almost 10 years, I went through, building this business and built it to a point where I'd say it was very successful. And I did it all without even realizing that there was an entire community or other people connecting behind the scenes. And I remember very vividly when, Caleb invited me to the Scout IQ or the Turn the Page conference in Phoenix. And that's where I first met Reezy and Matthew. That's where I met you. And I just remember sort of being blown away where I didn't really have to validate or explain what I was doing. I could just say, hey, you know what? I'm doing exactly what you're doing. And that's all I needed to say. And so, I think up until that point, I remember going into that meeting just kind of being like blown away by just, wow, there's so many different people here. I didn't even realize that there are this many people selling books online, even in the entire country. And, and what I realized is that, man, how important community is. And, Reezy, you talked about just the importance of finding good people and like trusting in the person more than even in the product that they're, it's like, if you know the person, the quality production output that they're going to they're going to be producing, right? And
Yep.
so it's just like, I guess all that to say is just like, I feel like I've just been tremendously, blessed by this community and just connecting with all of these great people throughout the years. And it's not like I'm going away anytime soon. Just wanted to say a big thank you. We couldn't have come here without each and every one of you, including the 3 people here to my right. And man, it's just I'm excited to see where season 2 takes us.
That's such a good point, man, about trusting in the person more than the product. And I think that is actually a life lesson that I think everyone uses it, and whether or not they realize it. And I use it too when I'm coaching people for content creation and stuff. And they're like, well, what should I do? What should I do? And I'm like, well, what do people around you consider you? You know what I mean? Like, my neighbor over here has every tool in the world in his shed, and he's happy to teach me how to use the tool and to borrow it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, how do I get this screw out or whatever? He knows everything. You know what I mean? But he doesn't know what he should make content on YouTube about. And I'm like, dude, just film it when I come over and ask questions, and that's your content right there. Like, if you're considered the guy for anything in the world, with your local community, your friends and family or whatever, that's what you should do, because those questions that people ask you, come to you for, those questions are content suggestions, and they're not the only ones that have those questions. There's other people searching for them. If you have, just to illustrate it really easily, all of us probably have like friends who are really, have great taste in music or films. And when that person suggests a film or an album to you, you could buy it without even thinking about it, or a book or whatever it is. You could buy it without even thinking about it. It's good. You don't have to read the review. Just buy it, consume it, call them back later, whatever. But then there's the people that give you and you're like, I'm not buying that one. You know what I mean? Like, I watched 2 movies he suggested. They sucked. So it's like, there is value inside of everyone, and their accumulated knowledge and experiences, but it's so hard to recognize from inside. It's like some Buddhist level awareness, you know what I mean? So definitely important to trust in the people, more than the product, because people can do anything and products are just things that people create anyways. And I just really like that sentiment, and if you focus on that, I think you'll find yourself ending up in a lot less weird situations in life, because you'll be around, good people that have good intentions, and you can trust their output on things.
Well, you're the average of the 5 people you hang around most with, and Dave, you've inspired me on that as well. I remember certain individual or 2 that we've talked about at length, and you've just encouraged me, like, what are you doing? Why are you hanging out? I know you're making some money here, and you've really called me out, and I appreciate that, because who you hang out with really impacts who you become. One of my rules, and I'm a golfer, so if you don't golf, find your own equivalent. But it's kind of a joke, but I'm half serious about it, is I won't do business with someone unless I've played a round of golf with them. And round of golf could be metaphorical, but the beauty of golf is you're out for 4 hours, 5 hours on a golf course. You're never going to play a perfect round of golf. So you're going to deal with adversity. You're going to be in the woods. You're going to hit it in the water. You're going to hit something, and you're going to see someone's natural reactions. And it's not that I'm out there just staring at everything, but you're going to see, how do they handle a bad shot? Do they get pissed off? Do they break their clubs? Do they throw them into the trees? Are they, rude to the cart lady or guy? How do they treat people, and how do they handle adversity primarily? And after 4 hours, you get to talk about families, you get to talk about business, you get to just get a feel of who that person is. And I guarantee you'll know whether you want to do business with them or not. So
yeah, does that 4 hours feel like 12 hours, or did it feel like 1 hour?
Yep. And that's a great metric. And again, for those that aren't golfers, or if you're entertaining someone that's not a golfer, find your own equivalent of it. But you just get to see who that person is and understand it. And the second, the corollary to that too, is I am drawn to people that are curious. I don't care what you're passionate about. If you are super excited about knitting or fixing old furniture, whatever it might be, if you're voracious, if you're ecstatic about it, I want to be part of it. I just want to come alongside and go, what do you love about knitting so much? Show me something you've learned. Show me. I just want to learn a basic stitch. Show me something. And if you allow yourself to be curious, kids are, my son is, and if you allow that to be you, that will open up the world. And it'll draw you to the right people. And, you know, if I want to call up Reezy and I'm nobody, he's probably not giving me the time of day, although you are incredibly accessible and friendly. And I know you'll at least reach out because that tends to be who you are. But if I'm like, hey man, I'm in your area, I really just want to see your YouTube setup. Could I swing by the house? If you're that excited about something, you're probably like, no, because my family's here. But in general, find something that's a little less invasive, and people are usually open to show you what they're passionate about.
Yeah, I mean, Jeopardy is my favorite television show. I love learning stuff. I grew up before the internet existed. Most of us did. Maybe not Matt. Matt, are you older than David, or are you guys similar age?
A couple years apart.
All right.
Yeah,
well, have you ever heard the term digital immigrant? It's for people like me and Caleb that grew up completely before the internet existed. And so when we were kids and we wanted to learn stuff, we had to go read the encyclopedia or, watch specific things that we could rent maybe or whatever.
My parents still have the 1971 Encyclopedia Britannica red set on their shelves. And when we were bored, that's what we pulled out and learned and
same
read up on different topics.
I don't know if it's the exact same set, but my dad had one of those and also had a science encyclopedia set. And that was the one I trended towards more, because it's like, it has cool pictures of like all kinds of science-y stuff. And I would read it front to back. I'd fold the dog ear it, sorry guys, but I'd go all the way through it. And, that inspired me to learn so much different stuff. And then when the internet came about, I was like, oh my God, I can get the answer to anything, took me a long time to realize I could use it to put information out. Yep. You know what I mean? I just used it this way for a really long time, but I'm still that kid. I could still Google all day long. Like my wife's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm like almost ashamed to tell her what I'm doing. Cause for 45 minutes I've been looking up who knows what, knitting, organic knitting. I don't know, whatever. But I've always been really curious. And I think that is a common thread for most entrepreneurs or, rebels, I guess I would say, people who don't want to, just take what is given to them. I'm not afraid to ask questions and I have a hunger for knowledge and I know how to self-educate, and I think that if others could get those three traits going, I think, the world would be a much better place.
Well, cheers to that.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Gonna have to ghost cheers. We're empty.
Should we, how are we on time? Do we have time for a few quick questions? I saw some.
I do. I know, Reezy, you said you've got a hard cutoff. Whenever you have to duck out, just let us know.
That's just me protecting my time. I don't actually have anything to do.
Perfect.
Let me look through some of these questions. There's a lot in the comments I haven't seen.
If you do have questions, drop those. We'll get to as many as we can. We do have a geek out segment that we'll kind of close with as well.
Reezy, how's the skating going?
Skating is going actually really well. I'm kind of surprised that at age 38, I am better than I've ever been before. Learning new tricks, still jumping downstairs. In the last year, I hard flipped a 6-stair, varial heel flipped 6-stair. I know you guys don't really know what that means, but the people that do will know. And those are great accomplishments. But having just as much fun as I ever had, the difference is that not so many people my age still skateboard, so it's far and few in between. And if you want to skate more than the 1 day a week those people skate, 1 or 2 days, I have to broaden the people I skate with. So I'm skating with 16-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 25-year-olds. And I'm like, hey, let's go. And they're like, I'm at school. And I'm like, oh, crap, I forgot you were in high school still. You know what I mean? And because it's really hard to tell if someone's 17 or 21. You know what I mean? Like for some people, like, are you in high school or are you in college? I don't know. You know what I mean? And so, but otherwise it's just skateboarding. I think about just trying to maintain my fitness. I do a lot of stretching, strength exercises, jump rope, whatever, but it's super fun and I feel stronger than ever. So I kind of think that was like a myth, that like you get old and you can't do stuff. I think what happens if you don't use it, you lose it. And then it gets, really, really hard to get it back. 'Cause it took me pretty much almost the whole pandemic to get back to feeling comfortable to where I could start learning new tricks again. And now, you know, I might learn a new trick today. I don't know. But it's just super fun. I don't know anything that's more fun. Great way to relieve stress. You even just get out and push, get the wind on your face, you know. Overcoming the little danger, you're scared to do it, so you kind of try it and then you eventually do it, you know, and you got to do it perfect because that's just how we do it. And when it finally happens, you know, you're like, oh my god, that was so beautiful, and you're tired and sweaty, and it's like, I like to say that skateboarding taught me, you know, how to overcome adversity, how to be okay with, you know I'm going to fall 1,000 times before I land it once, not even good. You know what I mean? And so I was never afraid to fail in business or in anything. I always knew that that was a stepping stone to get there. So skateboarding is actually fun while you do it, you know, even though you're falling like all the way to it. So business and other things might be harder. You know what I mean? Because you're not getting those rewards so much while you're training and going through it or whatever. But the concept is still the same. And I think so many people are afraid to take a chance on anything, you know, which is why we have so many people stuck in the 9 to 5 lifestyle when anybody could. I mean, this is not even a stretch. You could a half an hour a day, 5 days a week, focus on learning a new skill. And at the end of 1 year, if not 2 years, you'll have a new skill that you could probably make at least 50,000 a year doing.
Well, there's a
Do
phrase.
you want it?
There's a phrase that says we overestimate how much we can accomplish in a day, which is why I was running ragged today and barely made it in time for the show. And we underestimate what we can accomplish in a year. And the idea of stacking, you know, James Clear, I think, wrote the 1% rule,
Skill
or Atomic
stacking.
Habits, or, you know, that idea is if you do something, if you want to learn a language, pull out Duolingo or something similar. And for 15 to 20 minutes a day, by the end of a year, you'll be surprised at how far you've come along. And we waste 15-minute segments all the time. So put 15 to 20 minutes toward hitting golf balls or skateboarding or learning something. And I think that's the beauty of humans is if you're expanding, which is the foo-foo way of saying, are you being curious and learning? And if you're learning, then that impacts so much else in your life as well.
When you make new connections in one area, you have no idea, new neural connections in your brain. When you make new connections, you have no idea what is going to happen, you know, as a byproduct of those new connections.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You start all of a sudden other stuff, like, for example, and I'm sure you guys could all relate to this on some kind of like micro win type thing. When I have a really good skate day and I like learn a new trick or I filmed a clip or whatever, I might come home and bake a cake. You know what I mean? Or like make dinner, and I don't ever really make dinner. Like, it's just like that happens, and then the rest of the day is like perfect. Everything is so good. You know what I mean? And I think, I don't know, everyone understands like the mind controls your body, but not everybody understands like a motor and a generator. It works backwards. You know what I mean? The body controls the mind. So when you feel bad or weird, go run around, go on a bike ride, do a bazillion jumping jacks and yell out, you know, out loud or whatever it takes, because through moving your body, you can reprogram your mind, you know, and you always feel better after, you know, working out or just getting outside and getting fresh air and moving around when you don't know how you feel. And I think like more than any obstacle of life or the government or what, I don't know what to do, like whatever, I think your own mind holds you back more than anything. And it's very important to understand how to overcome that, which a lot of us have dealt with a lot over the last couple of years.
Yeah. Cheers to that. Junkman says, I don't know how much you want to get into your last 18 months, Reezy, but what are you flipping lately?
Skateboards.
Yeah, so I invested 30 grand into a skate company because I'm crazy and haven't made hardly any of that back. So I spent 10 grand on a heat transfer machine. I bought 20 grand worth of blank decks, and I love doing it. They're available in the local skate shops or on our website, flipandsupply.co. But also it's just more realization of me being like, I jump on stuff I think I want to do, and then when I start doing it, and this is my whole life, I'm just like, I don't really like this as much as I thought. And it's not to say that I don't like owning a skateboard company, but I didn't think of all the things that come along with it that I wouldn't like. For example, I want to go skate, but if I like post on Instagram all day, I'll sell a couple skateboards, but I'd rather go skate. You know what I mean? And so I don't know, you know, like I enjoy having a company and being able to put sponsor other local skaters and give them what they deserve, you know, and we're filming and whatnot. But it's just, there's always something that comes with it, you know. But as far as like, what am I flipping? I haven't sold anything online this year since March, except for a $550 book that I sold recently. I actually forgot that I had it listed on eBay, and it finally sold. It was I made a post about it. It was an old violin, an old book about how to make violins by God, why my wife's gonna hate me because I can't remember it right now. But anyways, that famous violin maker who's made a bazillion violins
Stradivarius.
and is, yeah, there you go. So he didn't write the book, but it's all about his techniques and his secret, like down to like his secret formula for his resin and lacquer that like people still don't really understand, and like mathematics and geometry about how to carve the inside of violins and violas and just so much stuff. And it was a non barcode book, didn't have an ISBN on the back. Looked it up. The e-score was terrible, but I was like, you know what? Someone wants this. And so I listed it for $550, which was $250 higher than the last sale. But I figured, what's the harm in that? It's barely ever sells. And then I put it on my wife's bookshelf, who is a string instrument teacher, and she enjoyed looking at it, you know, and I'm like, here, this is yours in case it ever sells, you know. And then I was like, holy crap, it's sold. But I wasn't surprised that it sold, you know, 2 weeks ago, because you always sell really expensive books that nobody really needs at the end of the year for tax write-off reasons. You know what I mean? And so
Christmas reasons, but yes.
yeah, that's like the only thing I really sold recently. Other than that, it's just attention, YouTube, helping other people, my Discord, whatever minimal digital products I'm terrible at selling because people will ask me for it and I'll be like, don't buy it. You don't need it. Like, you need to save that money to buy products to sell. Like I said, I'm like honest to detriment, you know.
Well,
like other people will scam you and sell you some shit, and I'll be like, get off YouTube, quit watching videos.
I love that about you, and you've always been very upfront that you would just love to just make content and inspire and influence people rather than, you know, teaching. You know, teaching them's great, but you didn't really want to sell and flip stuff. You did that because that gave you the audience to help make money in the short term while you built your audience. And that's,
I mean, I did it for a living for a long time, and I always say, you know, it was a lot better than digging a hole in the ground. And I dropped out of high school in 10th grade, so what am I going to do? You know, the most skilled job I did, I was an optical lab technician. And when I was 16, I lied and said I was 18 because I lived on my own already, and I ran the back of a house of an optical laboratory, like grinding lenses, not just finished lenses, hockey pucks, run them through the grinders, cutters, all that stuff. And it was really cool, and it was fulfilling because people would have messed up glasses, and you'd make them and then give them to them, and then they could see again. And so you get that dopamine like all the time. But after that, it was like shitty job after shitty job after, you know what I mean? I was like, man, delivering pizza is the best shitty job because you can drive around, listen to music, and if you're good at it, you know how to get high tips. You know what I mean? Or to take the certain deliveries that are in the higher neighborhoods, like all this little strategy about it, you know, and you're kind of on your own thing. But I never had, you know, a job that I liked. And I got a job at a skate shop. Oh, I'm going to love working at a skate shop. I didn't love it at all. It's just retail sales. But after that, then I started selling for myself, and, you know, I learned some stuff. And then when I read Gary Vee's book, Crush It, I was like, oh my God, this is how I'm going to, you know, be a YouTuber, you know, which I always wanted to do and make money. Then I started doing it, and then people started telling me I helped them. And I was like, wow, like I didn't expect that. You know what I mean? Like that feeling that you get when people say you help them. Because I grew up in a real selfish, non-religious family, you know, like dog eat dog, right? So, but that kind of like affected me in a way. And I'm not saying I'm not doing it for money or whatever. I definitely do it for money, but also that feeling, you know, makes it easy to keep going, that you're actually helping people or creating a difference in the world, or like that little version of me in like 6th grade that's like, I want to be in the history books. Like I want people to remember me and what I did, you know, like, shut up. People like you don't ever do anything. You're going to end up in prison like your dad. And I'm like, no, I'm not. You know what I mean? And so that is kind of where that went. And then it happened again when people are like, your story is real inspiring. Like the things that you've been through, like blah, blah, blah. I can relate to that. And that was me becoming more self-aware, you know, and being like, wow, really? You just want to hear me talk about my story? Like, or like, wow, you really made me pay attention, or you convinced me to actually try it, or whatever it was. I have this some kind of quality, you know what I mean? And so let's explore that. I could always go sell shit. That's how I look at it. So
Yeah.
I'm never worried. You know, I know if things go wrong, I got at least a couple couches I could sleep on. I'll go work for Dave. Caleb's going to be successful in the future. I'll work for Caleb. I'll figure it out. It's not a big deal.
Well, let's go around the horn real quick. What drives each of you? Why do you do what you do? I'll start if you have to think about it. Freedom is my word. I don't mind working a lot. I don't mind working a little, but I don't want to answer to somebody else. And I want to be able to pick up at 2:00 on a Thursday and go on a bike ride or talk to a friend or go play around a golf. And I might have to make up for it. I might have to work on a Saturday and Sunday to do it. But freedom and flexibility and the ability to kind of set my hours and set my own schedule is really what drives me. So I'm curious what drives each of you.
Same for me, which is why I've always said from food stamps to freedom, because, you know, I never liked the fact that I had to ask someone at school for a hall pass to go to the restroom. I felt like that was like a totalitarian regime from like the age of 8 years old. I was like, this is preposterous. I'm never like, how do I have to ask? Like, and so, you know, just people feeling like you got to ask first. You're a child. They're not giving you respect up front. You know, you got to earn it. And it just felt really, really lame. Like you weren't in control of stuff. And so as soon as I could be in control, like, just like you said, it's freedom. You know what I mean? I never miss my kids' events, you know, whatever you want to do or have to do, you can figure out a way to make it happen. It's not like your friends are in town and they just called you today and you're like, oh, I'm working. Like, oh, won't be able to meet up. Like, no. Let's go meet up. You know what I mean? And some might say that's not freedom because you're still in the rat race or because I don't own a house in California or whatever. But it's like there's levels to it. You know what I mean? As you become more self-aware, there's levels to freedom. It's like subjective, right? Freedom.
Yep.
And so you got to be in control of your life. And in order to do that, you have to own your time first. So that's why I'm doing it.
Yeah. Matthew?
Yeah. Freedom's, I wouldn't say my driving force, but it is something that's extremely important to me. Yeah, being able to control my time and spend time with my family when I need to spend time with my family is extremely important. But from a business side of things, I've thought about it a lot, what kind of drives me, because I've always wanted to, I think most entrepreneurs always want to start something else, but like, why do I want to start something else? And what is it about it that really kind of motivates me to do so? And one thing I realized when I was probably in high school, trying to start all these little businesses, most of them did nothing. But one thing I quickly started to realize is that if I had started a business and I was like, this business could make me tons of money, nothing would normally happen. But if I started a business and the main goal was providing value to someone, helping someone solve a problem, of course, as you guys know, that makes a lot more money and suddenly money starts coming in. And so I started connecting the amount of money someone's able to generate in a business with how much value they're providing to the market. And so when I see people that have businesses 10 times the size or 50 times the money, if you look at them, even Jeff Bezos, people criticize him all the time, but it's because he's provided a ton more value to the market than any of us have combined by 100 times, because he's figured something out that provides a lot of value. And so the pursuit of money, but for the sake of what I figured out is the pursuit of money, the only way you're getting is by providing value. And so I really like the idea of building a big business because I want to provide more value. I want to make a lot of money, as our other business partner Cole always says too, because you're providing more value to more people. And so pursuit of money, because I know what it leads to, the only way you can get it is by providing value. And so that's every time I'm thinking about a business or a new idea, I'm always thinking, what problem could I solve that would be worth solving, that would provide value to a large number of people, or a lot of value to a small number of people. But that's really what motivates me on business, is finding those things. And they're not easy. If they're easy, everyone would have a multi-million-dollar business or billion-dollar business. It's difficult to figure it out because it's not a simple task to provide a lot of value to a ton of people all at once. And so I just like that, I don't know, the challenge of doing that and trying to think of different ways to do that, because there's a million different ways, like we talk about, to do that. And just finding that and pursuing that is what really motivates me to build something else and to build something bigger than what we built with Scout IQ, and go on and do something different and figure out how we can provide even more value to a different group of people. So that's what's always motivated me.
That
Yeah.
real quick, Dave, before you go in, I just want to add on top of that. That actually kind of like made me want to revise my answer, because now I'm thinking about it like, oh, what are you flipping, Reezy? I'm flipping freedom. You know what I mean? Like, I want you to have what I have. That's the bottom line. And yes, my own freedom is at stake as well. But I think that makes it really authentic and easy for me to do so, because I genuinely want people to have freedom. And I know I've seen it. There's people that are smarter than me. There's people that'll work way harder than me. They just don't know about the opportunity. And so if I could share that and convince them to go after their own freedom,
Mhm.
the outcome of that is like unlimited. Um, and so freedom, but not just for myself, but for others as well. And Matthew like reminded me of that.
I'll put a plug in. There's a guy who has a podcast called Mixergy, Mixergy. It's Andrew Warner. He's out, I think, in California. His whole tagline is he starts every episode by saying, "What's up, freedom fighters?" And he interviews entrepreneurs and all kinds of people. But his big thing is freedom as well. So that's a great one to listen to if any of this is resonating with you as you're listening. Dave, last but not least.
The question was what drives us?
Mm.
Yep.
Was that the question? Okay.
Yeah. So what if you had to distill it down to a word or a sentence? Like what? Like obviously we're all trying to make money, but what drives you? What motivates you?
For sure. Because I like stories. I guess it makes sense. I'm in the book business. But growing up, from the time I was just a young kid to probably middle school, every day after school, I would go straight to my room, and I had tons and tons of Legos, and I would just work on building these figures, and it would just be like, it was just like a city, and it just kept growing and growing. And every day I would just keep adding pieces and pieces to it. And for years, I would work on that after school, when I really should have probably been studying and doing homework. And when I reflect back at, my early childhood, and I look at, who I am today, I see a lot of similarities, because I think the thing that really drives me today is building. And whether it's building businesses or relationships, or just my personal, like personal attributes. The thing that drives me is building, and with that, improvement, right? So how can I optimize this, or how can I make this better? And something that you say, Caleb, is bigger is not always better. It's just, sometimes it's just bigger is bigger, right?
Bigger is bigger. Yeah, just call it
Right.
bigger.
So I mean, as I'm continuing to build, I think it's important to clarify that I'm not necessarily always building for bigger, but sometimes I'm building for better. And so, yeah, that's what really drives me, is just, waking up every day and saying like, hey, how can I take one more step towards the right direction, in all different aspects of life?
I love it.
What would Romer do shirtless?
Everything. What wouldn't
Pull-ups on a tree, because you don't need a pull-up bar. You don't need a gym. You need a canoe strapped to the top of your car, and find you a good tree and do a couple pull-ups.
Shots fired.
I love Romer. I love Romer. He's going to wrestle me this is definitely a fact. We're going to tussle. I can guarantee it.
It's going to be great. So
he's got to cut weight, though.
We're doing a little bit of a Scout IQ party in January, just to kind of celebrate. All the founders are getting together with some of our friends and affiliates and VIPs, and Reezy will be there and Romer will be there. So look for that. If a tussle does break out, it'll of course be live streamed, I'm sure.
It will of course be recorded.
I do want to share just a couple comments that have come up both in our Facebook groups and here as well. So, curious how much the new company will raise subscription fees for Scout IQ. To our knowledge, there's no plans to raise fees. They're basically going to leave things alone. They've got some ideas for new features and whatnot, but they didn't buy us just to raise the fees and hopefully everybody stays put. They bought us because consolidation's happening across the industry, and so they're trying to own as many software companies as they can. Their hope is that with a single sign-on, you could log into their platform and add Scout IQ with one click. You could add tactical arbitrage. You could add some reimbursement companies that they've purchased. So they're trying to play the breadth game and have a little of everything. So their plan isn't just to raise money and try and squeeze every penny. They're going to mostly leave it alone, leave it the same. Our developers went over with the transition. Our customer support went over. So everything you like about the company's there. The founders, I'm sticking around for a few months to just kind of help transition and make sure they know what they bought and how the community operates. And then, like Reezy says, we're going to be free agents. We did carve out the ability to do some other tools in this space that don't necessarily compete with scouting. So we may decide to do that as a team. We may.
You signed a non-compete then?
Of course we did. So what they bought is Scout IQ, Pallet IQ, eFlip, and New Price / Reprice IQ. They did not buy the tracking spreadsheet. They did buy the brand. They bought the YouTube channel. They didn't get the Instagram handle. It's mine, although I'm no longer the book flipper. I am just Caleb J. Roth. It's my name. So
someone should get it right now.
Someone should get it. I think you're locked out for 14 days because I think I can still get it. I just changed it yesterday, but feel free. So we're going to figure out if we want to do something together. I hope we can figure something out. I love these guys. And we'll see what we decide to put our creativity to. Dave and I are going to be climbing a mountain literally in March. I'm looking forward to that. That'll be some good quality time together and free up our minds. So for those of you that have lifetime plans, those are going to be good. They're going to honor that. They're not going to change anything. Any of our affiliates, you're still going to get paid out. They're not changing any of that. They want to leave it the way it is and try and grow it. I'm sure there's some gaps that we had that we didn't recognize as we're just trying to build this thing. And the idea is they can improve on that and squeeze some more profit out of it and hopefully grow the pie as well. So that's that. Well, with that said, I'm happy to wind it down here. We do have a geek out moment that we normally do, so maybe we'll end with that, where it's we talk about something that you're geeking out about. Could be business related, could be otherwise. We'll go around the horn real quick, and then I think we'll end with that. So for me, it's a little cliche, but I finally read the Bullet Journal book by somebody Ryder. I'm gonna blank on the name, but bullet journaling. It's kind of a flexible system, but it's really designed just for productivity and mostly just for setting intentions. I'm guilty of just starting my day and jumping in and just kind of feeling my way through the day instead of being intentional. And bullet journaling is kind of a system for writing things down, and you do it with pen and paper. You don't do it digitally. And the process of writing things down means that you actually care about what you're doing. And so I've just been reading up on it. There's tons of YouTube channels. It's a whole underground community of weirdos, and I love them all. So
this is writer Carol, yeah?
Carol, yep. So I've been playing around with that, and I'm excited to kind of kick that off next year to just be intentional. Again, I can fly by the seat of my pants. That's something I love, but I also know that the more intentional you are, the more you're going to accomplish your goals. So
what's kind of the main core thing of it? Is it just being super intentional about creating the bullet journal gives you like kind of like a meditation mind space, but also you're getting that reinforcement of writing all the things down as well?
A lot of it is writing it down, and then there's rhythm. So they like kind of, and again, it's incredibly flexible. So read the book. It's great. Check out some YouTube videos. There's some great content on it. But the idea is you kind of map out your year, your months, and then your weeks, and you're kind of fitting the big things you want to do. And because otherwise it's easy to get to the end of a week and go, oh my gosh, what did I actually do? I just, I kind of answered emails and, I browsed social media, made a few posts, but did I actually move the ball further down the field? Did I actually accomplish anything? So it kind of helps you. There's like a whole process they have of writing down what you want to accomplish and then kind of asking like, is this necessary? Is it impactful? There's a couple questions you can ask. But the main thing is the rhythm of each day. You come in, you can have your gratitudes, you can have some meditations if you want. But the main thing is, what am I going to do today, and write that down. The process of writing it down kind of ingrains it in your mind. And then at the end of the day, you need to go back and either cross out what you did. And if you didn't do it, they have a system called migration where you either say, you know what, I'm going to move this forward to tomorrow and then write it as one of my goals for tomorrow. Or if you keep doing that, you need to question, is this worthwhile? And maybe just cross it off. Or you can migrate it back to like, you know what, I'm going to do it later this month, or I'm going to do it in February. So it's that idea of, physically writing it down, because it's a little bit slow and painstaking, forces you to be intentional with what you're doing. So far, so good. I'll probably be like a lot of bullet journalers and start it and kind of half-ass it halfway through the year. But I'm not tied to the idea. I'm intrigued by how I can be more intentional. So that's kind of fun.
Nice.
Reezy, you want to go next?
Me? I can go.
Sure.
Yeah, so for my birthday, well, whatever it was, like 2 weeks ago now, my wife bought me a compound bow for hunting. I wanted to go hunting for years. Every year I say, this year I'll figure it out, do it. And every year I've just pushed it off to the next year. So she's like, it's time you actually start learning how to just, I got a bow. And then while we were there, I was like, does it interest you at all to like go hunting or to shoot archery at all? And she's like, yeah, that actually sounds fun. So we bought her a bow at the same time. And so we've been learning archery together in our backyard, shooting bows. And I've actually been applying for the draw the last like 3 years in Arizona because I know it takes a long time to eventually get drawn for something, at least in Arizona where we are. So we'll start applying different places for her as well. But it's just been a fun experience. I've never, besides shooting a bow a couple times here and there throughout my life, I've never done it consistently. So it's been really fun to just take on a whole new hobby, especially because I can do it with Joy, and we can do it together in the backyard. And hopefully the dog doesn't run across and get killed, but I think we'll be good. So no, that's been what I've been geeking out about recently, and my wife has too, and so that's been fun.
Cool.
Awesome.
Dave?
Reezy, you want to go or should I go?
Yeah, I'll go. So a couple things I've been really interested about. One, I just want to gloss over real quick, and that is live selling or live sales. So I'm sure everybody has seen it. We're all Amazon sellers. So first off, we could talk about Amazon live influencers. So I'm sure all of us have at some point in the last 6 months to a year been on Amazon and then been like, what is this floating video right here on the page on mobile, interrupting your scroll, or on desktop? And it's their live influencer program. So if you're watching this, anybody can become an Amazon influencer, live influencer, affiliate, and then you just live stream and you're just talking about products. But it's so new that people are kind of just being real attention grabby about it. You do have people that are doing it like traditional. They have the product, they're showing it, or they're putting the picture on screen and they're talking about it. But then you have people like this one dude who's probably killing it, running around shirtless with the red Ryu headband on and a Britney Spears microphone, and he's playing crazy like dance music with like DJ lights, and it's just going wild. And you see it, and you're like, who is this shirtless Ryu? I mean, looking like Liu Kang.
Is that Romer?
No, it's not. It's not. It's Liu Kang. It's actually Liu Kang from Mortal Kombat. He became Amazon influencer. You know that kick that he does, the secret kick in Mortal Kombat? Anyways, but when I look at it, I'm like, wow, this must be really early on that you can captivate people just because you have your shirt off. You know, you're like, wow, what's this guy with the shirt off? You don't have to buy what he shows you, because if you know affiliate marketing, it works for 24, 48 hours. Target affiliate goes for a whole week. So anything you buy after clicking on that, as long as you don't click on anyone else's affiliate link, will go to him 2%, 6%. And it is very huge. I mean, the amount of traffic they're getting, they're putting your video on the newest iPad. Do you know what I mean? On Black Friday for free. You're not paying anything. Your video's hovering right next to it. Like, you would have to pay so much to get a sponsored product ad that is, I forget the exact type of ad that shows up next to a product that you specify, so that you're like interrupting the purchasing decision almost at the last step by like with your competitors, you know, like, or buy ours, it's cheaper. Anyways, that is insane. That intrigues me. Whatnot intrigues me a lot more. Whatnot is dominating the live sell market, so much so Poshmark copied them. Poshmark is chasing. TikTok copied the feature. TikTok's chasing. But live sells and live selling is here to stay. And if you don't understand what it is, think about QVC, think about Home Shopping Network. Those things are kind of relics of the past. I mean, if they're still operating now, it's not very well marketed because I don't know what they're doing at all. But think about, you know, since that's kind of like a archaic, older type of media format on television, and I know they didn't translate very well to social media or the internet, there's a whole generation of people that never became QVC addicts because they didn't realize it. And all of us probably know at least one person that buys way too much stuff from online, from QVC or whatever. My wife cared for a woman who was, she was bedridden, but all she did all day long was buy stuff off QVC. So much so that there was a whole room full of unopened packages. And one of the things that my wife would do besides caring for her every day was like sweetie, go over to the room and get a few boxes so we can open them. You know what I mean? You don't even know what's in the boxes anymore. And these people, sadly, when they go or when they pass, you know, there's a whole room full of unopened. You're a hoarder, but it's unopened Amazon purchases or QVC purchases or whatever it is. It's a disease, I guess. Those people exist, right? And so it's also very interesting because Whatnot is putting so much money into it to drive their ability to become a platform and to be a big player, not just to do these live sales. You know, auctions are the primary format that's doing really well. Lots of people are putting them at $1 and then just 15-second auctions. People are selling 30 items in 15 minutes and then they're done and they made $3,000. It's a profit. When you sell an item on Whatnot, it goes immediate payment, goes straight to the app or to your payout. You can get the money right now. There's people at the Goodwill bins live selling on Whatnot stuff they didn't even buy yet. And then when you buy it from them, that gives them the money to go then check out and pay for it. It couldn't be a better business model. Obviously, new products are going to sell way better than that because who wants to buy used stuff? These type of consumers that have expendable money and are just going to sit there and buy crap. I'm not that person. I assume you guys aren't either. That's not how you stay in business, right? But those people are out there, and it's so insane. You could go, you know, to the outlet mall and buy, you know, clearance women's clothing and spend $3,000 and then go sell it that night in half an hour and get your $3,000 back plus another $3,000. And then do it again the next day. Like, so if a lot of people probably follow Chris Lynn, Daily Refinement, he's so successful that he's not even in his Whatnot live shows. He has his employees selling the items in his live shows. Do you know what I mean? And it's more about entertaining than it is about actually selling stuff because those people are just bored buying stuff. Sure, some of them are resellers and they're scooping up the profitable deals that are happening because the market's blowing up. The marketplace is paying people to sell on the place. So they don't care what they sell it for because they're big enough. They got contracts with the platform, like et cetera, et cetera. But just the opportunity, like it's like Twitch streaming with the focus of selling. And the other thing that's extremely interesting about it is that I think it's one of the only times that content creators or streamers have been able to control or influence their demographic. So if my audience is always way more male. So on YouTube, it's like 80% male. On Instagram, I'm lucky for it to be 40% female, but it's usually only 20% female. If I go on Whatnot and I sell in the women's category, my demographic's going to be more women and women buy more. So in a sense, if it was YouTube, it would be like being able to control your CPM, which you can kind of do by choosing what type of content you make, but still you're not going to be able to choose who's actually at the other end of it. You know what I mean? Like, look, I don't know. It's extremely interesting to me. So Dave, if you're listening, you should get on there and do books. Maybe not you specifically, but it might be worth you having someone in the warehouse just selling books because you're going to fetch higher prices. People are getting, like, they don't have it yet. Poshmark has it to where when they buy one item, the next item, the shipping's free because you can put it in the same package. But they do get like 40 or 50% off shipping on the next item they buy from the show after they buy the first item. And so, I mean, we all know, like, it hurts my heart how many books are not worth selling online. Like, it literally hurts my heart. You know what I mean? Like, I want to walk around town on my own time and just hand them out to people that will read them and actually get value out of them. Because I've read these books. I know they're good. They're just so damn popular. They're not worth anything. And like, what are you going to do? You can put them in a used bookstore. That's it. But you could do this. Like, this is the end of garage sales. No one will have a garage sale again. You will just do a Whatnot auction. If you got a good Whatnot following, start an estate sale company. Just hit the estates and just like, hey guys, it's Reezy. We're in here at the estate sale. Look at this crazy copper horse. All right, we got to start it at 25 or 15 seconds left on the clock. Like, it's insane. And Whatnot, the customer pays shipping. And they eat all the returns. So if there's a return for any reason, they cover it and you keep your money as a seller. I don't know what could be a more favorable platform to sell on. And think about this. You don't have to take pictures or anything because you're live and you show the product. So now you're not photographing the thing. You're not writing a description. It's up next is this item. I mean, I'm like, I've been watching Whatnot videos nonstop for the last 3 or 4 days. And, it's very, very interesting to me. I think most companies will probably have someone working out of their distribution warehouse doing this. If not, they'll be hiring someone else to do it for them. But think about how ill it is for Whatnot, because how did the QVC business model work? They had to have a studio. They had to have people who buy products, people who research what products to buy. Then they store the products. Then they have to have people that ship the products. Then they have to have janitors and technicians to come through and fix the printers and computers and so much stuff and rent and blah, 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 blah. But now this is kind of like what Bezos did with Amazon and getting us flesh and blood robots to fulfill the product niches that aren't there or that they don't want to deal with. Each person becomes basically a whole one-stop shop for a QVC. You're sourcing the products, you're selling the products, you're running the studio, you're the talent on the camera. You know what I mean? It's like a really, I don't know, I can't even put it into words how exciting it is. Obviously, it's not going to be all sales because, most people buy stuff that they go and look for it when they want to get a deal or of some sort or whatever, but I'm very interested to see where live selling goes, the future of it, and I believe that there's at least a way that any business can utilize this to, make 6 figures a year, easy, regardless of your following.
Love it.
I love it. That's great. It's funny because as you were talking about Whatnot and Amazon live selling, I started thinking about all, not just books, but all the random things that we run across at the warehouse. And oh, that's creepy. My Siri just went off. Apple's getting jealous. But yeah, just thought about all the non-book items that we run across, like baseball cards, sports cards. We get electronics all the time coming with the books. And I was just like, it's such a pain because it's exactly what you said. You feel so bad just tossing it out. And there's value there, but it takes time to photograph, research, do all of that. Like, how great would it be if we find 300 baseball cards one day and we say, all right, these cards, this is what we have. All right, auction ends and we're starting at $2. Auction ends in 15 seconds. You just do that in 10 minutes. You've pretty much got rid of all those cards. And if there was something valuable there, you've gotten closer to the value than if you had not done it. So
right. And if it's fun, you know what I mean too, which I think it would be a great job to provide for someone. Like, hey, yeah, you don't got to break your back. You know what I mean? You're literally talking to the camera, on a live stream that's going to get deleted as soon as it's done. So you don't have to worry about it,
Hey, Reezy, you said you're a free agent now?
Yeah, free agent. Free, but not free.
Yeah. How about you come down to, you're coming down to Denver here in about a month.
Yeah,
so
we got to find something to do, right?
Yeah.
I was actually going to explore, because I have to figure out what niche I want to sell in and whatnot. And naturally, books is one of the first things I thought of. But then I was kind of like, used is not the top market for this thing, but it is something I like, that I'm passionate about. I read a lot of books. I can talk about them. How cool would it be to push people to read nonfiction and self-help? You know what I mean? It would be amazing. But the next thing I thought about was sneakers, which probably is what all men think about. And it's kind of a little bit saturated, but I mean, the book, they have an actual category for books and it's pretty trash right now. And so I don't doubt that I could dominate it. I just don't know what it would be worth. But if I could get, Infinity paperbacks, trade paperbacks for $1 a piece or whatever price is good, it would be a no-brainer. You know what I mean? Imagine selling 500 paperbacks in a day, you know what I mean, for $3 a piece that you couldn't sell for 50 cents profit in your bookstore. It would be pretty phenomenal.
That's incredible. If it's okay with you guys, I'll wrap up, share my geek out, and then
yeah, let's do it. Bill Martlink's going to be jealous. This might be our longest podcast episode yet.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bill.
Season finale. We should have broken it up into 2 different parts.
It's a dual feature. Yep.
Right. Exactly. Cool. So actually, the geek out, the thing that I'm geeking out about right now actually touches on 2 of the things that you guys talked about. Caleb, you talked about the bullet journal, and then Reezy, you talked about live selling. And the thing that I'm geeking about is
selling
a book
bullets.
called no. It's called a book called Influence by Robert Cialdini. And it's been around for about 50 years or something like that. It's had numerous versions or editions. But essentially, this book talking about the art of persuasion. It was so good that I read it in 2 days, and I'm a slow reader. So it was a great book. But Caleb, it talks about a bunch of different I guess principles of influence, right? Principles of persuasion. One of the things that they talk about is commitment and consistency, and they talk about the importance of writing things down, and how it ingrains into yourself and it becomes part of your identity. And that's probably a lot of why the bullet journal. I was going to call it the magic bullet, but the bullet journal actually works. Yep, that's the book. They have audiobooks available as well. It's such a great book, guys. And then Reezy, you talked about live selling. Chapter 4, it talks about social proof and why the human brain is wired to just like understand when someone else is talking or demonstrating or doing something with something, it naturally triggers something in our primitive minds to like want that thing as well. And so you see this all the time when actors or influencers promote certain products or goods or services. There's a reason why all that money goes into paying these famous celebrities. And so it's a phenomenal book. I think it's only about 70 pages, and so it's just like, it's not a quick read by any means, but it's definitely a great read. And I think it's one of those books where you'll find it, it fits into many parts of your life. The second thing that I'm geeking out about, guys, is season 2. So yeah, just season 2 of Books and Bourbon.
Love it.
Of us and of all this, and season 2 of Scout IQ. I'm really excited to see how this new company takes it to the next level. So,
Are you staying on, Dave?
I am not, but I will be ferociously cheering from the sidelines because we have a pretty good earnout. So
nice.
Yeah.
Well, guys, on that note, we will wind down season 1, and I'm pleased to say Scout IQ outlasted Aslo as a business bank and a number of other ones, because we've been in and out of business banks faster. You can talk about them. But with that, we will end season 1. Reezy, thanks so much for jumping in. You're a phenomenal guest. Thanks for breaking your spell. I look forward to seeing you, Matthew and David, and a whole slew of characters in Denver in just a couple short weeks. So I can't wait to catch up. Hug you all and share some great food and some just good times together. So with that,
we're gonna do sushi. Sushi.
We can definitely slide some sushi in. There's
awesome.
some good sushi.
I appreciate you too. Thank you for the opportunity, Caleb, David, Matt. You guys are all great.
Cool. Well,
thank you.
I'll for one last cheers. Mine's a ghost cheers as well, but final cheers, and we'll see everybody hopefully in season 2.
Peace.